Hi there and welcome to Darlene's Creative Studio. We're doing our December daily challenge and today is day 11 and it's called Home Alone. I have my little sticker that says Home Alone, so I'm going to move this out of the way. I had to think about this one. I was trying to think of what Home Alone meant to me, and all I could think of was all of our neighbors in our area that are elderly, my mom, my mother-in-law, people that are at home alone right now during the season because of the COVID, and it's just made them stay inside and not go out as much as they normally do. They can't go and visit their friends for a cup of tea and some cookies and that sort of thing. So as soon as I saw this one, I thought of all the people that are going to be home alone for Christmas. And I kept trying to think of how I could show that in my journal. So what I thought I would do, and let me just open up my journal and we'll show you what I've decided to do. So there is number 10, my baking layout. That was the Christmas bake-off. And I'm not going to use this page because I already added a pocket. We're going to move to this side of the book. And what I started to do was, I went through, I have a box, and I'm just going to grab it so I can show you. I have a box of die-cut frames. And what I normally do is when I go on a binge and clean up my scrap bin, I cut out a whole bunch of die cuts, and I did that with some of the Christmas paper. Scraps of the Christmas paper, I cut out shapes and stuff with the Christmas cardstock and whatnot. So this was what was in from just other scraps that were in my scrap bin. This is file folders and some cardstock that I had. But I keep this little box and it has all these different shapes in it. And what I normally do is when I cut out some of the die cuts, like this one, I save the frames so I might be able to use them for something. So I thought when I was going through this, I thought, well, why not try and use some of these in a layout? Now these are a die cut that I have. It's called a slotted pocket, I believe. And it comes with a little label, but that's what the die cut is. It's a smaller one. And I actually had some scrap leather that I ended up using and cutting out. So this is actually a leather piece, but this is cardstock. So I thought I'm going to use some of these. I've got all these different shapes in here. I've got these these are the insides of some of them that were cut out of the photo ones. It's just a whole batch of different things that I've cut out. So I just keep them in this box. So when I was going through the box, I decided I'm going to do my layout and use some of those. So I found this card and I've been dying to use it. It's just a picture of a set of doors, and inside it says, "May your home be blessed with the spirit of Christmas." So I thought I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this as my Home Alone. So this is going to go on this side of the layout page. And then I was also going through a whole bunch of my old magazines. Like I say, I'm trying to clean out some of my studio space. I have tons and tons of magazines. And I was going through some of my Daphne's Diary books, and I found this page that had this beautiful little house. It was a watercolor and had an old tree on it. So I'm going to use that as a background for this side of my pages. So that's what I'm going to start with for my layout. I'm just going to distress the edges of this page only because when I cut it, the white really shows on the edges of the paper. More on the top than I wanted to. I didn't want to see all that white. So I'm just going to distress very, very lightly on the edges here, not too much. And then I'm going to glue this down onto this side. So that will give me a background for that side. And just as I was getting ready for this, I tried to put my pin in the little nib of my glue, and the pin got stuck in there. I took the lid off and I could not get the pin out. So I had to go and scrounge and find another lid that I had, a little nib that I had. I know I had an extra one, so I found that. And I'm going to, when my husband gets home, I'm going to get him to get the pliers and see if he can pull that pin out of my nib. All right, so we're just going to glue this on top of that line page so we have a little bit of a background. And I just thought that was a really pretty page of the little house and the tree. Just reminded me of a little cottage. And then this card, because it is that cardstock and it's thicker, I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac because it'll grab it faster and it won't pull up on the edges and pull away from. I'm just going to move this for a moment. And I did add some Scotch tape to the edges of this card because it's going to be opening and closing a lot. I didn't want the flaps to get worn away. Actually, you know what? Before I glue that in, I think I'm going to distress and do some of the work on the inside of this card first, because I think it'll be harder to work on once I get it in there, and I won't be able to do that. So let me just put the lid on my glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the book over to the side, and let's work on this card first. Let's get its layout done. And again, just a tiny bit of distressing on the edges. And I guess I could have done this ahead of time to save some time on the video, but I'm trying to keep the videos short. I don't want people to feel like they've got to sit there for an hour and watch me glue and distress and do all that kind of stuff. So what I thought I would do for this side is I have this little die cut, and I did chop it off a little bit because I wanted it to fit underneath where it says may your home be blessed with the spirit of Christmas. So I did cut about a quarter of an inch off the bottom, so that I'm going to glue down. I think I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac for this one because I want it to really hold well. And for these, you only glue across the top and down the sides and across the bottom. So you just do the outsides of these. You do not do that full bottom piece because there's going to be something tucked in there. So I'm just going to go across the top. Make sure I get right to my corners, down the side, down the other side, and just across the bottom there. That is going to put my lid on because it's using up. So this is going to go under here. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, and then I just grabbed 2 pieces of music paper, and I'm going to put those on either side of the flaps just as some different color. Let's just stress those edges. There's one, and let's do this one. And again, I normally do the distressing beforehand, but my husband went to have a tea with his mom, so I have the house to myself. I'm home alone, and I thought it would be a good time to do the video while he was out. And the house was nice and quiet. So these are going to go on either side of these flaps. I'm going to glue those on. And then I thought I would use these little die cuts that have these little circles cut out of them. And again, these were just scraps I was using up. And then I thought I would keep the frames just for, I don't know, the sake of keeping the frames. So I'm just going to distress the edges of those a little bit. So that's going to go on top of there. And then before I glue all this on, I'm just going to show you something I'm going to do to the front. Okay, so that's going to go on that side. Just going to close that. So before I glue these on, what I thought I would do for the front of this is add a little, I have this little picture, I guess it's for the back of when you do framing, and it holds the cardboard in when you put your picture in. Whoops. So I thought I would use that to help keep my door closed. And then I have this little tiny gold brad, and I don't use gold very often, but these unfortunately were gold, and I have these little heart gold brads. So I thought what I would do was put this on there and punch a hole in and put a brad in, and I could use this as my closure for the doors. So I'm just going to grab an awl, here, and punch a hole in this. And then I will glue that inside piece on, and it'll hide the brad legs. So that's just going to be my little door closure. So I'm just going to punch a hole. And I'm going to put this through here. Let's just open this up. Put the little heart in there. See if I can get it up right. Yep. And then I'm just going to open up the brad on the inside. Like that. So now I can open and close this little latch. So that's on there, and I'm just going to rub that nice and tight. Okay, now I'm going to glue this paper down on top of that, and I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac because I want to glue on top of this little. Okay, Fabri-Tac, it's getting near the bottom and it takes, I think I mentioned before, it's like Heinz ketchup waiting for it to come out. All right, here we go. Let's glue this guy down. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on top of that just to make sure that it gets glued nice and straight. Like that. Okay, so there's one side. Let's glue this side real quick. I figured there's a lot of people that, even people in nursing homes, that might not have families that are home alone. And I thought this might be a good way to think about those people that cannot get out, you know, do Christmas shopping like we do, running around like we do. So I thought this might be a nice way to represent them. So I also took some, let's put that back on that. Some of my end papers. I always save my end papers from books when I'm cutting them up because I like the color of them. They're a nice yellowy color. So all I did was think of some nice words. I've got kindness, thoughtful, sharing, and friendly. And I thought those would be nice words that represent how you treat your neighbors and friends and family along this time of the year. So what I'm going to do is have them underneath. I'm going to glue this frame on, and then I'm just going to have these words sitting in the middle of the frame like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack down the top of the frame, just the top where I want it, and then I'm going to slide those words underneath and have those under the bottom of it. So let's just glue this top piece down like that. So kind of where we want it to sit. Make sure it's straight. We'll do that one. And let's do the other side. Just glue that on. Let's do the other side here. Okay, and then I'm just going to add some glue to the backs of these words. So there's friendly, and I want it kind of in the middle there. So I'm just going to lift this up, put that in there. So there's friendly. Let's do thoughtful. That will go in that one, like that. And then I can actually take my Fabri-Tac and just glue, actually I'll use this for the sides. And I'll do a little bit of the Fabri-Tac on the bottom just to make sure it sticks. I've got to learn to, there's a trick to using this Fabri-Tac. It does ooze out a lot, but if you lay it on its side, you don't have to constantly shake the living daylights out of it to get it to come back up to the top. So there we go. So we've created the little frame, and it's got my words underneath. So you barely see them. They kind of blend in with the music paper, which is what I wanted. I just wanted them to be subtle, but little words kind of in the background. Let's push that guy out of the way. So let's put kindness over here. Oops, I'm going to pull that up a bit. There's kindness, and let's put sharing. I'm going to put that one in there. Like that. And then we're just going to glue the little edges of this down. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to hold it down. Again, it's not going to go anywhere once you get it somewhat glued. So let's put that on there. There we go. So there is my little card. Now I can glue this onto the book page because most of the stuff that I want on here is there. So let's bring our book back into the frame of the camera. Make sure we're in focus here. Trying to look up upside down. It's not as easy as it looks. Okay. So now I'm going to glue the card in, and I'm using the Fabri-Tac because this is a cardstock card and it's thicker. And I really want it to grab the page really well. So we'll just quickly glue this guy in. Okay. Put the lid on that little guy. Okay, so now this is going to go on this side. My doors. I'm just going to... And the pages are getting really full. So they're kind of popping open a bit. Okay, so let's open up our doors. Glue my door closed. And then what I thought I would do in this little part, I have all these little shapes cut out. And I thought, as I do random acts of kindness, like maybe take some baked cookies, some of my sad baked cookies, over to a neighbor, or invite someone over for a coffee, or sometimes my husband and I buy Tim's and we take them over to one of our neighbors. So these I'm just going to put inside here. And as I do a random act of kindness, we'll write them on, oops, the little card there. And that will be our Christmas random acts of kindness for our neighbors. So that will go there. That doesn't stick very well, but... And then on this side, I thought I would put the Home Alone down here. So I'm going to peel that off. Come on. And I'm going to put that on the bottom. Right about there. And then I'm going to take one of these frames, these die cuts that I had left over, and I'm going to put that around there. Let's put a little bit of glue on here. And I want to make sure I go right to the corners because this will lift up if you don't. Okay, so we're going to put that over top of the word Home Alone. So it gives it a little frame. Like that. And we're going to add our number just in the corner here. So it's day 11. Like that. And then I have these two little picture frames. And I just thought I'd put them on there. And I might put my mom's picture in there and my mother-in-law's picture in there. Because they're always home and we try and go over and have tea with them as often as we can. And we are going to have them over for Christmas. They've been very good. They don't like to go out a lot. They stick close to home. And this will be a good opportunity for them to get out of the house. So we are definitely having a Christmas dinner. And we have a big enough table that we can social distance. And we can social distance in the living room. So we are going to have them for Christmas. So instead of them being home alone for Christmas, they will be here. So we'll put their pictures in here. So we'll put that one And I'm just going to do a little bit around the bottom here and this top piece. Okay, and then they're going to get glued in on this side. And all I'm going to do for these is glue the tops and the bottoms, and then, or actually maybe what I'll do is just glue the top like I did with the other ones, and then once I take their picture on one of those little, my sprocket, I'll print it out in sprocket, and I'll stick the sticker down and then put the frame on top of it. So I'm just going to position the very, very top piece along the very, very top, like this. And we'll put one down. And then we'll do the same for this one. And we'll put this one on this side, like that. And these will be, and what I might do for these, just to make them stand out a little bit, because they're hard to see, I'm just going to grab a smaller pen. That's a medium, and I find it leaves too big a mark. So for these, I will take my black marker and I'll do that stitching that I like to do around the outsides of my stuff. So I'm just going to do that. And then on the bottom, I'll put their names. I'll print out a little sticker and I'll put their names. I don't know whether I'm going to put Mom or Mary. Mary's my mother-in-law and Linda's my mom. So they will have their names on the pictures, and I'll be able to lift them up and slide their photos under there and then stick them on once we take the pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the lines around those. And then on this side, this is just some random acts of kindness, and I might write that up here. Random acts of kindness. And remember your neighbors, your family and friends, those people that are home alone. Remember them during this time and try and do something nice for one of your neighbors, one of your friends, somebody that you might know from church. Just think of all those people that are home alone and don't have family, and do a random act of kindness. So on all of these, I'm also going to go ahead and do that little stitching around the outside, and then I'll write some little random acts of kindness on there, and they will stick out a little bit more as well. So you'll see those a little bit more. This does actually have stitching on it. You can't see it, but it does have these little punches for stitching. But I might put a little label there as well and just put something on there as random acts of kindness, but I don't like how dark that is, so I'll find a lighter one and put that there, and we'll put a little sticker there that says random acts of kindness for my neighbors. So that's it for day number 11. I hope it inspires you to be kind to your neighbors, to your friends, to people that are home alone. I hope you're enjoying the prompts and and getting ready for Christmas. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.